All right. So I hope you guys can hear me. I hope the audio and all that is good. Um, basically, I'll be working a lot next week, and I probably won't have time to really be on the game. And I just got off work like an hour ago, and I'm pretty tired. But basically, what I'm getting at is I don't think I'll have time to make a video to provide you with the update that I'm about to provide you. So for those who are curious about the Pulverize Druid, I did have to make some final tweaks on the build. I know in the the video I posted, I said I wouldn't make any tweaks, but I found out some additional information that kind of made me had to go back to the drawing board, basically. So basically, this video is just going to be a live video. Hopefully, you know, just one take. I'm going to explain the changes, and then I'll even show you some gameplay of why I think this is the best version I can make. I will not make any changes. I won't even have time to make changes, like I said, because with the event starts, I think next 2 weeks from now, so like Tuesday of next week. Yeah, so I probably wouldn't have time to make changes anyway. But nevertheless, let's start with why I had to make the changes, right? So I was in a couple of live streams of people streaming Diablo, and I watched a couple videos, and it seems like the general consensus is that at a tier 25 for the Abattoir 0 event, at a tier 25, the total amount of armor that you will need is a little bit under 15,000, right? Now, the problem with the build I had previously made is, you know, I was all excited because I got the life to almost 30,000 and I got the armor to 11. But, you know, almost 4,000 armor short, because I think the total number is like 14.6 or 14.9, something like that. Being almost 4,000 armor short, that just makes me a little nervous. You know what I'm saying? So I had to make changes, right? And from an armor change, we had to get off of oh damn, what is that thing called? The unique helmet. We had to get off of it. What is it called? I'm having a brain fart right now. What is the thing called? Vastly's Prayer. We had to get off Vastly's Prayer, so that way we can get more armor, right? So, sorry about that. Like I said, this video won't be the cleanest. This is gonna be a live take, so I'm sorry. I'll try to make it as quick as possible. But essentially, on the helmet, you're going to want total armor, 1 elemental resistance, maximum life, and cooldown reduction, right? Now, with this combo, you now should have around 14,000 armor, assuming that you have a good roll on this. You have a good roll on this. Yeah, assuming you have 2 good rolls on this and you have decent armor all the way across the board, you should be hovering around this 14,000, right? So we're probably maybe like 500 armor short of the cap that they say you need. So I'm fine with this. I'm more comfortable being 400, 500 armor short than being 3,000, 4,000 armor short, right? So now, because we did that, this opens up our build to swap more things around. So let me explain. So on the helmet, we now can put Aspect of the Quicksand. We don't need to put Disobedience because we're already essentially at the armor cap. We can easily just drink the little potion that gives you the armor and we'll be at the cap. So there's no need for us to have Disobedience. So what does that mean? That means that since we moved the Aspect of Quicksand up here, on the boots, we now can run Ghost Walkers. So we now get our movement speed back, so we're not as slow as we were before. Now, I also made a change to the skill bar, as you can see here. Now, one thing I found out, and this is going to sound crazy, Grizzly Rage was actually holding this build back by a lot. Now, let me explain. So initially, when I was using Grizzly Rage, right, because I have Metamorphosis at level 3 and not level 1 like you're supposed to, right, I was like, man, when I'm in Grizzly Rage, this 6 seconds of Unstoppable, it feels like it's taking forever. I have no way to refresh my spirit if I run out of spirit for those 6 seconds. So then I took these 2 points off and I was like, okay, cool. Grizzly Rage feels fine now. Then I thought about it and I was like, man, only having 1 point in the Grizzly Rage and not having the Fortify. And I mean, we don't want the Unstoppable, but still, I was like, man, this feels like kind of a waste. I was like, how about I try something different? So I was like, let me try Petrify, right? And so I tried Petrify, and it felt really good. Felt perfectly fine to use, had no complaints with it. But then I took it a step further, because once I liked it, I said, okay, well, now we no longer need the Rampaging Werebeast aspect, right? So then I said, okay, let's try a different aspect. So I saw that I had a max roll on this Crash Stone aspect. Your Earth skills do 40 times increase more critical strike damage to crowd control enemies. And remember, the way this build works is every time we pulverize, enemies are crowd controlled. So this is 100% uptime except for on bosses, unless they're staggered, right? But we'll never stagger bosses. We'll always just kill them before they can even get staggered, right? Now, let me tell you something. Putting this aspect on has completely changed the damage output of this build. This build now does so much more damage. It is actually insane. I'm seeing, like, before I was seeing like 2 millions, 4 millions, which I was fine with. There are times now where I'm seeing 14, 12, 10 million. And this is like not me popping my ult. This is just a regular Pulverize when it overpowers. Like, it's actually insane. And on top of that, with these changes, and this is going to sound crazy, right? But I don't even have Umbral. And remember, my Metamorphosis is level 3. And so before I told you I was running Umbral because I felt like I was having spirit issues. But this is going to sound crazy, but everything dies so fast that I don't have spirit issues anymore. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I literally don't have spirit issues anymore. Like, none. So I took off Umbral and I'm back on Retaliation. And now this build feels 100% complete. So I want to show you some other things real quick before I go into gameplay, right? So another change we made is we took off the Circle of Life. I feel like Undying is enough. I don't feel like I'm missing out on any heals. So what did I do with these 3 points? I threw them into Quick Shift. Now, the reason why, the way we can use quick shift on this build is because we got rid of Vastley's Prayer. This now turns us into human form, and this turns us into human form, right? And as soon as we shift into a Pulverize, we get this 15 times multi, right? But I want to have a caveat here. Oh, and when we pop the ultimate too, right? Now, these two are safe to press in a dungeon because you'll get a little bit of extra defense from this when you pop it. And when you pop Petrify, everything will be stunned anyway, so it won't matter that you're in that split second of human form. I do not recommend you try running around and comboing with Wind Shear and Pulverize. I don't recommend that. It is just way too risky. When you're in human form, your armor goes from 14,000 to 8,000. That is just, you know, that's not going to be good. So I don't recommend you do that. There will be a time and place to do that, and this is the reason why. So when we go into human form and we throw out one Wind Shear, and the reason why we chose Wind Shear over Storm Strike, because Storm Strike gives you the damage reduction, is because we don't want to be close to things that are high level in human form. That's just way too risky to be doing a melee that close in human form. It's not worth it, right? So the fact that we can cast this at range is perfect. And besides, to get this bonus right here that I'm about to talk about, you could just swing at the air anyway. You don't actually need to hit anything. So this just kind of becomes useless. So we might as well just have this, right? Just cause. So when we cast our Wind Shear, right, our next Earth skill will do 18 times increased damage, right? Now remember, when we cast Wind Shear, we're in human form, which means we also get this quick shift multi. Now again, I don't recommend that you try to do all that comboing, plus it would just slow you down anyway. But the way this comes into play is this helps out with our bossing so much more. So I don't know, I don't think I have a dungeon that I'm about to run that has a boss that I can think of right now. But I'll just explain to you essentially what you would do. You would go up to the boss, right? You would make sure you evade through the boss to make him vulnerable, right? Then you would pop Petrify. You throw out 1 Wind Shear, and then you Pulverize. And then you just keep pulverizing, and I promise you their health will drop a ton, right? So essentially, those are the changes that I made. I think the build is perfect now. It's very, very tanky, and overall it just feels a lot better, and it's a lot stronger. Like, it's a lot stronger. Oh, no, hold on, I need to go on the Paragon board. Okay, so on the Paragon board, I didn't change anything too crazy. The Paragon board is exactly the same, right? The only thing I added is I added these points right here. This doesn't really matter because these are going to get removed anyway once we get the Tears of Blood glyph. So just ignore those, right? I was just testing something out, but essentially the board is going to look like this. We're going to put Outmatch on the starting board, right? And the reason why we're going to put Outmatch on is because that extra damage is actually very, very helpful, because the way damage reads is for all damage, it says increases all of your damage dealt. So we might as well put this here and get that boost as opposed to getting the core skill damage. Let's just boost all of our damage, right? So that's why we put that there. Now on this second board, we're going to put Spirit. We actually don't need to use Werebear for the defense, right? You can still put Werebear here if you want. And the reason why I say that is because once we get our first Tears of Blood glyph, we're going to slot it in right here, which is why I said don't worry about these points, because all these points will get thrown into here once we get our Tears of Blood glyph. Now, at level 1, the Tears of Blood glyph will give you a significant boost in damage. I think based on my Paragon board, it'll give us like almost 50 times multiplicative damage, but the boost to rare nodes will be very, very low, which is why I took it off of this, because it only will give us 10% damage instead of 25% damage. So we want to maximize our damage, right? So that's the reason why we're putting Outmatch here, and we'll end up putting the Tears of Blood glyph here, right? And then, like I said, we're going to take all these points and put them in here. Now, once you get the Tears of Blood glyph, if you plan on grinding the glyph and getting it to a high level, once you have enough to get at least this same amount of 4.5 total armor while in Werebear, you're going to swap this Earth and Sky. You're going to put it here, and then you're going to put the Tears of Blood glyph here. And the reason why we're doing that is because I'm pretty sure this Paragon board has the most little nodes, little core stats that you can put here. And so we would get rid of this Paragon board right here, and we would take all the points that we have in this Paragon board, and we would just completely fill this up and just go completely crazy with the damage. But like I said, you want to make sure that you at least hit that 4.5 total armor and Werebear, because we don't want to take any chances. Even if we do a crazy amount of damage, we still want to make sure we have good enough defense. So yeah, maybe that's a little confusing. But again, I have made all these updates to the build planner. There are 3 different versions. There is what we're using to go into the Abattoir of Zir, and that build planner is called Abattoir of Zir. And then the second one is Abattoir of Zir, and it says TOB glyph, which is Tears of Blood glyph, and that is just representing how we'll be throwing it right here. And then I have one called the Psycho version, which is where we're going to have like this completely filled up. If you want to be crazy, you can go ahead and throw that in early. Me personally, I'm just going to be a little nervous because I don't want to lose that additional armor. 4.5 may not sound a lot, but remember, we are at the maximum. We're at the cap for armor without Disobedience. So if you do that, you might have to put Disobedience on the helmet and then move Quicksand to the boots and get rid of Ghostwalkers. But that's something you would have to decide. I'm not going to do it. I'm not that pressed. But yeah. And I think that's about it. No changes to the vampiric powers. Spirit boons stay exactly the same. I did take off Calamity. I don't really care for this extra duration. I don't think it's needed. I think I'd rather just make sure I'm keeping my Fortify up now that I have Retaliation. And I think that's about it. So I think now I can just pop a dungeon real quick. Hopefully this goes well. Hopefully I don't I don't die in this this run and I look stupid, but I think it will go well. I'm pretty sure it will go well. Okay, so let's see if everything will go well. So yeah, like I said, but when you play this, right, you don't want to be doing that swapping with wind shear. There's no need to do that. The build will do plenty of damage because of that crash stone aspect, and you'll see in a second here, like the build does an insane amount of damage. I really didn't realize that the crash stone aspect was that strong. Well, I mean, I'm not doing damage right now. What the heck's going on? It's a bad there we go. I'm about to say it's a bad showcase, isn't it? There we go. But yeah. Yeah, the build does plenty of damage. Like you can pop petrify it, and then you can pop your wind shear. So like when you petri things, you can pop wind shear then. But other than that, like I said, I wouldn't recommend do it. Let me actually turn this sound down just a little bit, because I don't know if you'll be able to hear me or not. But oh shit. But yeah, like I said, it's just way better. The build just feels way better. I'm very tanky. I don't know if you heard that squeak. That's my dog in the background. Yeah, this gameplay is probably not gonna be the best because I'm very distracted right now. But you know, you just saw 4 million right there. And like I said, I don't have Umbral. I have the bad Metamorphosis. And overall, like my damage feels fine. Like I don't know if you saw that. That was a 9 million we just hit for. Like for these elites, we can do this and then pop a wind shear and then we're good. There was a 5 million right there. We're getting some sigils too, nice. But yeah, like I said, like the build is just so much better damage wise. Plays a lot smoother. Now that we have ghost walkers, we're faster. Overall it just feels way better. And again, like I said, you don't need to do all the swapping and all that good stuff. You don't need to do none of that. It's not necessary. Everything will just die anyway, as you can see. So it's not a big deal. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. It's very, very straightforward. And if you have a better, what's that? Banished Lord's Talisman, you'll be doing way more damage than me. I do not have a good rolled Banished Lord's Talisman. So you'll probably be doing way more damage than me. So that's another thing. Oh, but yeah, like I said, this isn't the the best gameplay. I did not think I'd be doing this live. But here we are, right? Well, I think there's actually a boss on here, which is good. But yeah, like I said, the build does a ton of damage. Except for when it doesn't, right? Then that just makes me look bad. But yeah. Promise I wouldn't lead you astray. The build is good. Very, very good. There you go. There was a better example, right? But yeah, oh look, we can just go straight into the boss anyway. Okay, cool. I think I'm gonna kill a couple more things though, because I don't have my ultimate up yet. And hopefully I can perform this there you go. Like look at that. 3 millions, 4 millions. We haven't hit a 10 million yet, but I promise you it can. I have seen 10 millions. It's not seeing them yet. There's an 8. There you go. That was close. That's close enough. 8 million is close enough. You know I'm telling the truth. I have no reason to lie, right? But yeah. Let's just go do this boss real quick and I'll show you what I mean. So for the boss, you want to make sure your fortify is all the way up now that we have retaliation. And like I said, you're going to evade through the boss one time. And after you evade through the boss, you're going to pop your ult. You're going to swing one time. And then you're going to pull. Look at that. Do you see this? Like, look at this. Look at, oh, I'm so glad I did this correct. Like, look at the damage. It's so much better. And if you're more skilled than me, you could have been throwing some wind shears in there and slamming, but you don't even need to do it. Like I said, the build is so much better. This was what, a tier 99, 1 level from a tier 100. I mean, that was perfect. You can't ask it to go any better than that. You know, it started off very, very shaky. And and maybe you didn't believe me, but I mean, that was perfect, right? And I think that's a wrap. I mean, let me just make sure. There might be like, you know, a little bit of awkward silence, because I want to make sure I cover everything, because again, like I said, I won't really have a lot of time to play next week. So basically this is just gonna have to be boom, we're going right into the Abattoir of Zero. But yeah, I think we're good. We hit all of our rare nodes. Again, don't ignore this. This will be taken away as soon as we get the glyph, and I think you get it once you beat the first dungeon. So yeah, this will be taken away and it'll immediately get slotted into here. Just follow the build planner. Yep. And yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything else.